we've lost 62 Kenyans, and for various reasons that have been given. It's my wish that my predecessor will now have a one-on-one engagement with the government in discussion, and be able to itemize one by one the causes and how to deal with. I also want to report, Chair, that the countries that we have had issues have also moved towards a mutual understanding. They now have a toll-free complaint phone number. They have a police unit dedicated to these house workers and helps who can report any distress. And also...
Honorable Chair, point of intervention. Yes. Mr. Chelugui, you're saying what you can do to solve it. But what is the explanation from these Middle East countries and their embassies? It is not normal that 85 people can die. We have housekeepers in Nairobi and maids, but 85 of them have not died. So what is the explanation? Because they owe this country an explanation. So what I want you to tell us, when you engaged with the embassies, what have they said?
Point of order. My point of order is that this nominee is coming here for MSMEs and cooperatives. In a few minutes, we'll have the Cabinet Secretary for Labor, who is a nominee for Labor, who then fits these questions appropriately. We need to look at this, his vision for the new ministry.
Yes, but Honorable Chair,
it's actually taking us our time, but
yes, but Honorable Chair, he has served as the Minister of Labor. So to gauge his suitability for the next position, yes, you have to tell us about your performance in the previous position. Yes. Even though you're my friend, I have to ask you the hard question.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Wind up with...
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Yes.
The explanation, Chair, that I've enumerated first the actions on our side and their side to mitigate the challenges we've been going through. But the explanation that we are receiving is an issue that has not really satisfied us as a government, as a country, and even the House. We have had very many explanations, Honorable Chair. Number one, we've been told these people were in default, were in breach of the laws of that country, but they were taken to a rescue center, or rather deportation center, where they either starved or they were sick, or some jumped in a floor, or they jumped out of the deportation center. This explanation, Chair, we cannot confirm. We have no jurisdiction. We can only take the reports that we've been given. The way to go would be now enhancing our number of labor attaches. Specifically, the country we're talking about is 3 times or 4 times Kenya. And one labor attaché is not enough. It's not able to deal with these issues. Not undermine or underrating the importance of life, actually went without following, by not following the due procedure. They went without, they didn't use the approved agents. They traveled to that country on their own as tourists, as businessmen. But that is not the issue, because these people have lost life, they have suffered. So the explanation that we have, even when all this is said and done, you don't have to lose life. But that detailed explanation we are not being given. We've done a lot to get that information. I've appeared in this out severally over the same question, and that answer has not been provided because we are working through diplomatic channels.
I will give a chance to Honorable Junet. One question.
Yeah, one question, Speaker. Thank you, Chair. Chair, actually, I have listened keenly to the Cabinet nominee, and I wanted to seek a clarification. Chair, you know, they say the more things change, the more they remain the same. If you go to a cabinet nominee to this Wezo Fund website of the government, they're saying, welcome to Wezo Fund, the flagship program for Vision 2030, aimed at enabling women, youth, and persons with disability access finance to promote businesses and enterprise. But the funny thing also is they're saying the fund is highly devolved and adopted the concept of bottom-up approach with the decision-making done at the grassroots level in 2014, and they have disbursed 6.9 billion shillings directly and supported 1,877 beneficiaries with 69% success. Now, and the interest rate of this fund is 0%. There was no interest on it. The people were just being given money to start businesses and to refund. Now, the clarification I was seeking is that if you give this hustler fund, and majority of the people you are targeting are startups, people who want to start business now, people who want to buy a new border, people who want to start small-scale businesses, small traders. And this Wezo Fund concept, which they are saying in their website, by then Jubilee government, that it was a bottom-up approach, never succeeded. How will a fund which will have an interest, however small it is, which is going to be refunded, help somebody to start a business? How will you incubate a startup using that kind of money?
Simon, before you answer that, let me just ask you two questions. Now, as you roll out this fund, you have rightly said many of these people are either in business or some are going to be startups. Now, you will have to tell us what kind of national infrastructure you are going to put in place to help what you rightly call the off-take. Take, for example, where some of us come from, Kinawandai and others. These are areas, even when the country is unfortunately being ravaged by drought, they're still getting good rains. People want to take 5,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings to grow more beans, more maize, more potatoes. But as drought is ravaging Kenyans in the north and the east, women are still going to roadside with bananas, with potatoes, with all sorts of crops, and staying there until evening and going back home without even selling. So for you to make the hustler succeed, what infrastructure do you want to put in place in terms of cold rooms, movement trucks, and so on, so that whatever they are going to double in production can move to consumption markets? Because there's absolutely no point for us to be crying to Mexico to send us maize when you have potatoes and bananas rotting by the roadside in Kisii, in Siaya, in Bungoma, and so on. This is squarely within your purview. Number two, the story of cooperatives is what the Chinese would call sweet and sour. Out there, many average people are very frightened of the managers of cooperatives. Because every cooperative you go to, there are a few examples that may have succeeded, but you'll find the managers of the cooperatives are filth rich. Their members are in abject poverty and are the ones who produce. What management structure are you going to engineer to ensure that now there is respect for public property in the management of cooperatives, so that even the small hustler with 10 shares must have those shares protected and get just returns?
Just to add on that, Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
the richest man in my constituency is a cooperative man, is a cooperative manager. I don't want to mention that.
Yes. Yes, Chungwa.
Speaker, maybe it's good that you have raised that issue of cooperatives, and the CS would tell us how probable, just in addition to what the Speaker is asking, how probable is it for you to ensure that we have something in the sense of what KDIC does with banks, the Kenya Deposit Insurance Fund, corporation or rather, a fund like that, like KDIC, that will ensure that cooperators' money is secured, so that you also encourage people to join the cooperative societies and also ensure there is proper governance structures in the cooperatives. I'll give you an example. In Kiambu County, there is a SACCO, the cooperative SACCO that was called Ekeza SACCO. And they collected people's money, disappeared with the money, and they then hide in politics to run away from paying people's money. I'd also want to hear what you intend to do to make sure that those people who are running cooperative societies fleecing Kenyans, that they do not come and hide in politics, that you will make sure that they get people's money back to them.
Yes, Simon.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with Honorable Jeanette. Chair, yes, as before the Honorable member came, we had actually talked about the existence of the current affirmative funds and various similar intervention, but the focus and the kind of size of intervention was not the kind of focus we have right now. We are now looking at it wholesome. We have looked at the performance of the three funds. We looked at WESO, youth, women, the challenges they went through, and how best to make them better. The ASLA fund is a big intervention. 50 billion shillings in a year is relative to what the banks have is not much, but relative to earlier intervention is a serious intervention. Now, to ensure the uptake and the impact of these funds across the country, will need governance, leadership, and also structures being put in place to ensure that these funds achieve their objective. For one, banks have been lending to micro and small, but using various access methods, which many of our small and micro cannot afford. This fund will ease the access of this fund, the money, and also shift from security-based lending to credit score lending. And it will consider women and youth who may not have securities to start up their businesses. So the fellows who are doing boda, some are riders who want to own their boda. Some are buying 1 bag of vegetables every morning in Marikiti. He wants to increase the stock because he has access to better markets. He wants another bag, but doesn't have the money. So what we will be doing is using the digital application that we have now, the popular fintechs, we will be able to support these women. I spoke to one bank chair who came to see me to just explore ideas about the application of the Hustler Fund. And they have also a fintech, platform that is lending. And many women in Nairobi, over 100,000 women borrow between 15 and 30,000 at 4 a.m. in the morning. That is the time they are buying their wares. They refund this money between 4 and 8, just around Nairobi. This is the experience, the output of the pilot that we are doing. Now, our intervention is not money. It is changing the rate of interest. That is the impact of our intervention. that these ladies will save more because we are going to reduce the rates of borrowing and also organize them to start saving for their retirement. So this fund is not just a loan. It has more. It is more than just a loan. So that is the intervention that we're having with the boda. Now on 0% rate, I think it's not practical because we need to also mentor these people. Eventually, we don't expect them to remain small and micro forever. We want them to start preparing them to borrow, build relationship, open accounts, and start growing, even going beyond Africa, beyond Kenya. So this practice needs to be inculcated at the beginning so that you pay interest. There's a cost of administration of the fund. We want to send officers to check. We want the intermediaries to participate, to recover, and to lend, to provide advisory services as the last mile of delivery of this money. So what I can assure the country is this fund will be below 10%. And we are talking between around 9, and we're still thinking of bringing it down, or those are discussions going on. It's not yet clear. We will bring this discussion to this House for your ratification. The Honorable Speaker, the national infrastructure to support MSME is a very important intervention to enable the Hustler Fund. As you say, as you drive from Nairobi to Western, you find so many Kenyans along the way in Naivasha, in Nakuru, in Torongo, in Eldoret, towards Tarbo, all the way to Bungoma. All these people, you go to Mombasa, the same. You go to Mount Kenya, the same. You go to Northeastern, the same. Those are small and micro people. Those are Kenyans. These are Kenyans who also aspire for a better living. But unfortunately, sometimes they can stay on that roadside for a whole day. To facilitate them, we would need now to create markets for this produce. We would need warehouses for this produce, and we would need cold rooms. Already, the HCDA had done some intervention, however small they are, it has assisted. But we need to scale up. And we will want to work out, once we have done the lending, we will need to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, who are doing the milk dairy. They can assess the output, and we will need to know how then can we assure the market for the produce, excess produce. On the issue of cooperative, including the logistics and export market, as I said, Chair, my output, the Ministry of MSME and Cooperative, is the input of the Ministry of Trade. So I will work with my colleague, the Honorable Moses Kuria, the CS nominee for Trade, to survey their output and also establish external markets for this produce. So we will want to work with also our embassies, to the trade officers who have been appointed, they have been posted. We need to see value. We need to get value from these people. We need to exploit the East African community market, which has imbalances of produce and products. We need to look at African trade, free trade area. Our biggest market now in Kenya is Africa, not Europe, not America. We need to build, because logistically it's cheaper. And also culturally we are similar. So we need to harness the potential of Africa first. Finally, the issue of cooperatives. Chair, you can say it again. The issue of cooperative has been a nightmare. We have people who invested in big banks now, posting profits, 35 billion, 40 billion a year, but no single cooperator gets a single dividend. This has been taken over by cooperative leaders. And to arrest that situation, to restore back the investment and the sweat of the investors, we, as I've told you, we have the ethics unit within the cooperatives, working together with the ethics and anti-corruption, signing an MOU with ethics and anti-corruption to bring back sanity. People must repay. We must recover asset. Asset Recovery Authority working with us we'll be able to restore sanity in the cooperative sector. We look forward to those days when the days of Alfred Briggen, when people closed shops, and so we will need to create another authority that is empowered and is able to bite, is able to restore sanity in the cooperative. We are the best cooperative in the world. We are number 7. And in Africa, we are number 1. We have 22,000 cooperatives with assets worth 1.5 trillion, with loans worth 1 trillion across the country. So we need to harness this. We need to protect this. And we can only protect it by enforcing administration of the fund. Chair, I'm not surprised that the richest man in Migori is a cooperative officer, is a cooperative manager, and we will need now people to earn commensurate to their position. Finally, on the cooperative, on the question by the majority leader, KDIC, since we established Kenya Deposit Insurance Company, we have seen sanity, Honorable Chair, in the banking sector. We saw so many banks, rural and urban banks, who are involved in housing collapse. But with the insurance protection, we've seen sanity, and banks have stabilized, savings have grown, and people have been assured of their investment. We need a similar, because we are going to use SACCOs to lend to small and micro. I expect savings to increase across the SACCO family, and therefore the assurance of the safety of their money becomes important. And therefore, either by memorandum of understanding with KDIC or establishment of an independent credit guarantee scheme across the SACCO will need to be established, because there will be now increased deposits by SMEs, and that exposes their savings. In Kiambu, we also look forward to a shared digital platform where SACCOs can actually borrow from each other to create liquidity, so that any SACCO who is having financial liquidity challenge can actually borrow from the neighboring SACCO. However, we will need to strengthen SASRA, the regulator of SACCOs, to ensure that every day, through this single platform, we can be able to view and see the performance of each SACCO. What we have seen in EACC is 2 books of accounts, Honorable Chair. We have 1 record for the regulator and 1 record for the member, and the real record. When we have a common platform, we will be able, the regulator will be able to view the performance without, even before reports are filed, you will be able to see performance of each SACCO. This is how we are going to expose the unscrupulous cooperative SACCO leaders. Chair, we will still pursue, the case of EACC is on, and we will pursue to its logical conclusion, and any other SACCO where members have been involved and they have been investigated and found culpable, we will submit them to the laws of the country. I submit, Chair.
Chair, just one clarification from the nominee.
With your indulgence, Chair.
With your indulgence, please.
Yes, Unit.
Chair, thank you for your indulgence, Chair. Chair, if you look at the ministry's name, it's very good. Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs. And Chair, what drives the clarification I'm seeking, majorly business in the country, is the SMEs, so the people who drive the economy. But Chair, one of the things that they have really suffered from for the last 10 years, even at the county level and at the national level, is what is called pending bills. People who do business with county governments and people who do government and national government, and they're never paid. Those people have been auctioned. Those people have problems, Waziri. And the last communication during the campaign was that when we form government, we'll pay them in 30 days. It's on record. So what plans do you have? Because those people are really, really suffering in this country. When do you think, are you going to be able to pay them immediately you are sworn in if this committee approves you? What is your future plan for these people? They are really suffering.
Mule.
Thank you, Chair. And probably I give nominee a minute to write what he's writing. I've just heard you say that you'll bring the SACCOs so that they can borrow among themselves. Probably you are aware that we have what is called Cusco, which is a corporate of corporates in this country. You want to tell me Cusco has been unable to facilitate the corporates to borrow from each other and deal with the issue which has been raised by Kimani Chungwa of what you have just rightly said, a corporate with 3 books. And I think if that is the truth what you are saying, what will you do first before you deal with the SACCO to deal with the Cusco?
Are you talking of a cooperative or a corporate? No, they are not one and the same.
Chair, all the cooperatives in this country, they have the umbrella called Cusco, which is the union of cooperatives. Is that true? Yes. Now,
I'm not disputing what you are saying. I was just cautioning you that a corporate is not a cooperative.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So we just need to hear from him so that we can be able to understand.
Will be the very last.
Yes. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa nizungumze kwa Kiswahili.
Endelea.
Ningependa kuomba nominee afafanue ama aeleze kwa urefu kidogo. Kuna mama kule nje anauza mboga zake ama anauza omena, tayari ni mfanyabiashara. Kuna yule mama ama kijana ama mlemavu pia ambao angependa kuanzisha biashara ndogo. Hii ni kuhusu hustler fund. Swali ni hii. Kuna uwezekano ya yule mama ama kijana kuweza kupata hizi pesa kama binafsi bila kukua ndani ya chama ama cooperative? Kama jibu ni ndio, ni njia gani ataweza kupata hizo pesa kama binafsi, mfanyabiashara binafsi? Nadhani Wakenya wangependa kujua. Asante.
Last but not least, Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Chelugui.
Please let no member raise his tag again.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. Chelugui, I hope you are going to engage the county askaris, the police officers, and the chiefs. Because when you do lend the women or the hustlers this money, you're going to have a situation where you give them money in the morning to go and buy their wares. Then the county askaris will confiscate them and keep them. And then those women will not be able to pay you back. Or you'll have a situation where the police ask for a bribe, and then they will not have money to repay you in the evening. So if you don't engage them and sensitize them to know, if the women are on the street hawking illegally, all you have to tell them is take your wares and leave within the next 1 hour. You don't have to take their wares and go and divide among yourselves in the evening. So if you don't engage them, the hustler fund will collapse.
Simon, answer all those in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. On the matter of pending bills, Chair, I think there are discussion by government to address this matter. I cannot give specific at this time, although I acknowledge the challenge our small and micro are going through by not being paid. There have been programs, plans by the previous administration or the outgoing administration to address the matter of pending bills. I believe when this government is established, it will put together a team to address and organize the resolution of this matter, which affects many, many small and micro. On the issue of SACCOs and Cusco, I agree with the Honorable Mule that we have the union of unions of SACCOs, that is Cusco. However, Chair, the CLF, the Central Liquidity Fund, is a pool fund, is a common fund that puts together all their SACCOs who have excess liquid overnight, what we call in banking overnight lending. So what we have been having, when a society or a SACCO falls in liquidity, they resort to the normal banks, and that sometimes can bring them down because of the cost. Cusco is just a union. It articulates, it champions issues of SACCOs and cooperative society, but does not address the issue of now credit and savings. So the Central Liquidity Fund is like what we have in the banking sector, which central bank intervenes when a bank falls short in terms of liquidity. Since our focus is being pushed towards this end, it is important to put up a deposit protection facility, as mentioned by Honorable Shungwa, and also a central liquidity fund that will pool the excess liquidity to support any SACCO. I believe with peers, you will be able to resolve at a reasonable rate. Kuna mama mboga ako pale nje.
Hiyo swali ulikuwa umejibu, but I think she wants you to speak in Kiswahili to somebody who has triggered her to ask the question.
Ningependa kuwaeleza wamama wetu ambao kila wakati wanaamka asubuhi kutafuta kusaidia familia zao kwamba hii pesa ya Asla Kiswahili na kwa ngumu, Honorable Chair. But hii pesa imepangwa kuwafikia wamama wote wa Kenya wanaofanya biashara mtaani, wanaofanya biashara mchini, na pia ile swala haswa ambao tunataka kuokoa ni ile riba wamama wanalipa wakikopa pesa kutoka watu wale wanapeana pesa reja kutoka mabengi na kutoka hazina ambazo wanakopesha pesa.
I think swali lake ni kwamba kama hujaingia katika cooperative yoyote au kikundi chochote, wewe kama mfanyabiashara binafsi utakuwa na nafasi ya kupata hizi pesa?
Asante, pole Chair.
Mary, was that your question?
Pole Chair, pole mwenyekiti. Ningependa kumweleza mheshimiwa kwamba wale wamama wote ambao wamejiunga ama hawajajiunga na vikundi wako na nafasi na njia ya kunufaika na hii hazina ya Asla Fund. Unaweza kopa hii pesa ukiwa mwewe binafsi ama kupitia kikundi. Hii pesa unaweza tumia simu yako, unaweza andika barua, unaweza kupitia maofisa, na unaweza kupitia mahali mabengi ama SACCO ambao wako katika kaunti zetu.
Asante sana. Take 3 minutes to tell us your final wish.
Involvement of chiefs and county and police as asked by the Deputy Speaker. And I want to...
the brutality of the Kanjos. Yes. I think that's what she's asking.
We will collaborate with all the stakeholders. This is a government intervention, and we will want to rally everybody alongside this plan. So the police, the county governments, and the chiefs are part and parcel of this program. Thank you.
3 minutes to tell us your final wish.
Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, I want to appreciate the opportunity given to me to appear before this honorable house, led by you, the Speaker, and the Deputy Speaker, and honorable members. Chair, I have served diligently this country in various capacities. I look forward to serve in the same with the same commitment, the same focus, and be a contributor towards and supporting and impacting on the bottom of the pyramid. I want to thank His Excellency the President, William Samoei Ruto, for the honor and the appointment, the nomination for this position. This is a trust. He has shown trust in me, and I will not let him down, and I will not let this country down. I'll work. I understand the enormity of the task, of the hustlers, of the many Kenyans who are suffering in cooperatives, and the need to bring sanity in this sector. Finally, I want to thank my family, my wife, my children, and my parents. I also thank the people of my community, where I come from, that is Mogotio and Baringo, who actually mentored me, supported me to this level where I stand before this House. So, Honorable Chair, I promise I will work together with this House. I'll respond to any call from this House, any summon to this House, and any communication or request for information from this House. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Simon. We now release you to go to your other duties. If you have any documents to exchange with the clerk's office, please do so out there. The sergeant will now show you the way. Honorable members, I'll give you a 5-minute stretch as we prepare to get the Honorable Salim Mvuria.